the end when I find you, and you would do the same thing too. You would do the same thing too. The same thing too. The same thing too. The same thing too. Oh! I mailed a letter off today. Now I have much more to say. If I could just get down the truth, my nose will meet with my caboose, and you would do the same thing too. You would do the same thing too. The same thing too. The same thing too. The same thing too. Oh!
And welcome to episode 3 of Guitar Tales. My name is Dave Cohen. I am thanking Riverview Studios and the wonderful folks here who've helped us put together this show. Our friend of the show, Scott Engel, who has been so supportive all 3 episodes. And now we have Jim Slade and Andy Rosenau of Nixon's Head. Thank you guys for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Now, I have a huge smile on my face, but the people out here won't know why. The reason why is you guys just performed 2 songs that will get through the magic of video spliced in later. I was moved. I will tell you the truth, and I'm not being silly right now. My eyes welled up.
Oh.
Because these guys have a song. You'll hear it somewhere in the tape, Let It Go. It's wonderful. It is on your album that's about 1 million years old.
Traps, Buckshot, and Pelt.
Yeah, yeah. And I've known you guys for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
30 plus years.
Since you were a freshman in college.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I'm thrilled you're on. You're our first ever duo. Okay, we brought 2 other guests. I can't even touch it. I feel nervous.
Don't even breathe on it.
I know. All right, we can get it on camera. This is a 65 blonde Rickenbacker semi-hollow body. It's stunning. It is absolutely stunning. That's the guest of honor tonight.
Definitely.
And then yours is not as old as it
Not
looks,
as
but
old.
that's an amazing guitar. But a Gretsch, that's a solid body.
Sonic, I think it's called, or something like that. Yeah.
I heard it before, and the sound is beautiful. You've got a Fender, and I feel like the guy in that pizza show, One Bite Everyone Knows the Rules. Well, for this, the rules here: pick up the guitars anytime you guys want. I know you're more of a singer than a guitar player, but you do
Definitely.
play. But anytime you want to pick up the guitar, if the mood takes you, if we're talking about something and you want to pick up your guitar, play it. If you guys want to ask me a question, you can do that too. All right. So, where I want to start before we even talk about you, our favorite game is what?
6 Degrees of Bon Jovi.
Yeah, except my friend Jay, to make it sound better, we call it 6 Degrees of John Bon Jovi. We need enough
John.
syllables
Okay,
in it.
gotcha.
Okay, so you guys were about to tell me before the show how you get there, and I said, nope, I don't want to hear it. How do you get there?
So I'll start by saying I'm always a little unclear about the exact rules, so I'm sure we're going to violate something.
Okay.
But we started with an old high school friend, Dave Mason, who is the cousin of La Bamba, the guy from Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes,
Okay.
Richie Rosenberg.
You're up to 2.
La Bamba. La Bamba played here's where I'm gonna fall apart, because Southside Johnny, one of his opening bands was John Bon Jovi.
No, that
It's one of
works,
his
that
early
works.
bands. Okay.
That's
Then
3.
What else do we have?
That's it. So you're there in 3.
Okay.
Right.
So how
So,
you have another way?
so the other one, the alternate one was
Yeah, we
that
weren't sure what to
Nixon's
pick.
Head played GW
This is
Spring
the best
Fest.
one.
Okay.
So we were the first band, and we played, but the headliner was the Ramones.
Okay.
So we rode up the elevator with the Ramones,
All right.
and the producer of the first 2 Ramones albums was John Bon Jovi's father.
Oh,
Uncle.
Yeah,
That's
Tony
Tony's
Bon
uncle.
Jovi.
that's even better.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so you guys, so it would be
tight
so,
with
so
Ramones.
3, like
But-
roughly
Because you
3.
can remember from the Marvin Center, from the the basement up to like the 2nd floor. That was
That's
a long
big deal.
elevator ride.
But think about that. So here you are, you guys are something other than young,
Yep.
and you could look back on your lives and say you not only opened for the Ramones, you rode the elevator
Yes.
with them. I mean, even the kids today know who the Ramones
Oh
are.
yeah, and there was a good 6 hours probably between when we played and when the Ramones played.
All right, so you didn't quite
Yeah,
open.
but yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, so yeah, we opened.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well that works.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Nixon's Head. When did you guys first become Nixon's Head? When did the band start?
Well, going way back.
All right.
So Andy and I have been friends since 3rd grade. So we're
Okay.
little tykes.
All right.
And in high school days, we were probably 15, and kind of realized that, avenues like becoming sports stars, that was not going to happen.
Okay.
So rock music, rock and roll became kind of like the next fantasy course. So we started a band when we were 15, 16, before we could play anything.
Wait, so let's stop you right there.
Yeah.
You started a band before you could play anything. So what did that look and sound like?
Well, really early on, it was just like 2 harmonicas. I mean, so really in like our first like duo. So this really we've done duos before, but
Okay.
it probably goes back to 1978.
Okay.
So eventually, then Jim learned how to play guitar, and then probably like it seemed like a long time, but maybe like 6 months, 8 months, we got another guitarist
Okay.
from the neighborhood, and then we met our drummer Seth
To this
Baer.
day, Seth
Oh, right,
Baer.
yeah.
So
And then so you're playing, you weren't called Nixon's Head yet, right?
No.
Kind of
We're
like
called
the
The Zone.
high rollers to the Who,
yeah,
right?
exactly. We were the
Right,
Zone,
right.
and like
Yeah.
by the time we were seniors in high school,
Okay.
like the spring semester, we actually played like a few clubs in Philadelphia.
Oh,
that
really?
were- So we played like a place called the Starlight Ballroom, which was the #1 like punk club at the time.
Okay.
We played another place called the East Side
Side
Club
In Philly.
in
Yeah.
Philly.
So now you live,
Sucked.
okay, all right. You live in Lawrenceville now. Where did you both grow up together?
I grew up in Abington,
Okay,
And
all
I grew
right.
up in Northeast Philadelphia.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
but we went to the same school.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So you're playing, literally, so in high school, you guys were playing in legit clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though you sucked, you were
Oh,
still
yeah.
playing in clubs.
We weren't remotely cool, not that we are to this day, but even back then it was kind of funny to be playing. Sometimes we'd play when we played the East Side Club. I remember we opened for this guy, Alan Vega, who is one of these kind of underground gods of the punk scene in New York.
Right.
And people there were pretty tough, and we weren't, and they were just staring us down. And I just remember like 2 more songs, we're off of here.
Well, it reminds me, so in 1978 or 9, I was in Bloody Smegma.
Oh, really? That's,
Not physically, I was in a band called Bloody Smegma. Floating around somewhere is an audio tape. We found our way into Uppsala State College on their radio station. And this is my favorite part because these guys were already at Rutgers. They were in college. I was in 10th grade, I think. So that we were introduced as D-Day Druxon, Animal, Donnie Vandal, and Dave.
and Dave.
And I, when I was in 10th grade, I looked like I was in 3rd grade. So I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you're playing, like, I think that's impressive. Like, and my guess is you were better than you are willing to give yourself credit. You can't get into a bar.
No, I mean, but we did something very unusual,
Yeah.
All
which
right.
was that our focus was never playing live. Our focus is really probably even still to this day is recording.
Right.
So even when we sucked, even probably before we played like those live gigs, we had done the demos in
Demos.
Fat Ray's
Yeah,
studio,
yeah,
Right.
And so we'd always done like a lot of recording.
And where would you do the recording?
There was a few places. There was one place that we did a demo kind of near outside of Jenkintown.
Oh, so when I did songs, because we recorded all the time too, we had a fake demo that we actually we made up the name of a studio. That's how we got on the radio. And, we would do it in a bedroom, but you'd splice the cassette to make, like if you have 4 minutes, you'd cut the rest out. So the entire tape was 4 minutes long.
Huh.
You guys did it the right way. You like had the 16 track or the
8-track.
Yeah.
That's still good though.
And then we went into the studio in Berlin.
Berlin, New Jersey.
Yeah, where we
We
did like a
did
few
2
demos.
there.
That's impressive. I mean,
Yeah.
for high school, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and then it's kind of what happens. So we go to college,
Right.
and
You went to GW, I know,
right.
because we went to school together.
That's right.
Where
Went to
did you go?
Northwestern first,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
we were like all over the place. And whenever we got a chance, we'd find a way to get back and start playing.
And
Yeah.
now, so senior year, what was the name of the band?
the Zone.
Okay. And then when did you become Nixon's Head?
84. So there was like a 2 or 3 year period that we were in what we would call like the Jazz Odyssey, phase, where we were just kind of still playing. We were doing kind of like, it was kind of like a lot of, way out there kind of stuff.
Okay.
But at some point in 83, we got.
And you start college in 81, right?
We started the, fall of 81.
Okay.
So we got like one of the early Yamaha 4-track cassette recorders.
Okay.
And so.
So not the Fostex.
Not the Fostex.
Right.
No, because I don't know if the Fostex, but the Yamaha, it actually had the bay, and it was like,
So that's it's a higher end.
It was a higher end.
The Fostex was like that big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we started doing a lot of demos and recording, stuff like that. And eventually we started we'd sent the demos to like XPN, and we got some airplay on WXPN.
Really?
And then, we started playing live, and that was probably the summer of 84 when we played live.
And I end up
as Nixon
I'm at
said.
GW in 83, so I probably saw you guys. I'm sure I saw you guys.
Our first few gigs, as Nixon said, was in Philadelphia at a club called Grendel's Lair.
Okay.
And then JC Dobbs was an early gig.
We played that frat house about 3 times.
Yeah, we played the Kappa Sigma house out like a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so how did you come up with the name Nixon's Head?
I remember that. So I was at Northwestern, and I walked into a friend's room, and it was a friend who had special things waiting there for me. And we sat down and enjoyed the special things. And then I looked over on his bed, and he had this book called Nixon's Head with this psychedelic collage of,
There was literally a book called Nixon's
literally
Head.
called Nixon's Head. It was from like 1968. And it was somebody who, it was a political book that said, based on this person's, career to date, you can't elect him. He's a crazy man. So anyhow, I saw the book.
Where have we
and
heard
just
that
started,
before?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just started laughing really hard, and I remember like calling Andy, from like the hallway phone, it's 1983 or whatever, when the cell phone. Call him from the hallway phone. It's like, I've got the band name, 'cause we already
Zone
knew
is really bad. That's
it was
a lame
terrible.
name.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in a band called Foresight once. It's
Yeah.
terrific. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how that came about, and it just stuck right away.
So you guys, if you're recording, it's originals. So, our dear friend Elliot is watching. He's your only fan tonight. Maybe, no, you got a thumbs up. So I said to Elliot, I don't know what your songwriting deal was. Would you guys write together? Would one of you write the lyrics, the other one write the music?
I mean, through the years, I write most of the songs.
Okay.
Mike Frank, who's going to be here with us tonight, still writes a chunk of them. And then there was a period, so on this album, Traps, Buckshot, and Pelt,
Which is such a great name.
some of the songs are co-written with me and Mike Fingeroff, our other guitarist at the time.
Right.
So Mike at the time was a way better guitarist than I am to this day. Right? So
Okay.
even, early 80s, much better guitarist. Mike was really good at putting together chord progressions, but he had no idea how to construct a song.
Okay.
So he would come to us and say he'd come to me with a tape. He's like, Jim, I've got these riffs. And, what can we do with them? And then, we'd sit around and I'd we'll make this into a song this way. And that's so probably about half the songs were from that collaboration.
So who did the cover art for this?
Jim did the cover art.
I did the front cover.
Did you really?
Yeah, and then the guys in the band took pieces and did some of the back cover. So Mike Frank did the chicken guitar.
Yeah,
right.
Combination duck and chicken. Seth did the bass drum and the cymbal. And the reason we ended up doing the cover ourselves, this is kind of a classic Nixon's Head thing. We were always very DIY.
Okay.
And the guy who did our first album cover, the one that Todd helped us put out, did an excellent job. We loved it.
Todd
And
Yasui, we got to throw his name out.
Yeah.
He was your original producer.
Yeah.
Executive. I mean,
Executive
we
producer,
released our first EP on his label.
Yep.
Ichiban.
So
That's
this
right.
guy-
Ichiban Records. That's right.
Yeah, Barry, who's to this day a professional graphic artist. This guy Barry designed the first album cover. He was going to do the second one, and time kept ticking. I'll get to it next week. I'm busy.
Right.
We'll get to it next week. And then so finally we just said F it. We can't wait any longer.
Yeah.
So we just bought paint and some.
It
stuff
looks
and,
really good.
Canvas. Thanks.
So this came out of my record collection for tonight. And I just looked at it right now, and I don't know why, but it's in my handwriting from 30 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
What does it say?
Chick.
Chick. I have no idea why, but I just noticed it while we were on the air as I was picking it up. I'm like, I don't know why, but that's my hint.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Well, because that's how Mike's listed.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I
the
don't know.
name is actually, I think I came up with the name.
I
and
love
that
it.
is
I don't know what
actually-
it means, but I love it.
It essentially, I remember where we were. We were like prepping for when we played live on XPN.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was essentially like an 1890s sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Oh, I get it. Right.
Perhaps buckshot and pelt. So
It's such a catchy name, even if you
also
don't.
kind of like a lawyer kind of sounding to it.
That's true.
Too, so.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
And the cover certainly amplifies.
The
that.
cover is fantastic.
And
I'm
if you
gonna
take
put
out
it
the
on.
insert.
Oh,
there's
let
also
me
a really good
see.
insert.
Let's see.
Yeah, we
Oh,
bought
look
this,
at this. I forgot about
free,
this.
Like,
Yeah, so here, let's see if we can get this on
royalty-free
camera.
artwork, and I
All right, we
remember,
got a
like,
close-up
cutting it
coming
up
in.
and putting
There
it
we
in
go.
and pasting it. It was fun.
It's just, it's got that whole Victorian era
Yeah,
vibe
exactly.
about it.
We were very psyched about that, actually.
Now, it's real, it's creative, and it's on sort of the
Pape
fake,
guy.
the funny, I was going to say fake aged
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah.
It's fucking
Now it's-
old.
Yeah, now it's
No,
I mean, it's
actually,
literally
so-
old.
Yes.
Like, this is 30 plus years old because
Yeah.
that's all the album
But
is.
so we actually got that. The printer who did that is
Yeah.
the accordion in the Ben Vaughn Quintet.
Oh,
That's
really?
Portavox,
Yeah.
who for a while
Yeah, he had a
owned a printing company.
business
And,
with
you
his
know,
family.
I'm thinking about what a lost art. Like right, you know, even if you go all the way up to the disc age, right? You know, you'd get your crappy disc, and you'd sort of like there's a picture there, whatever, and it's all about the music. But here, there was such ritual about getting an album. You'd get the album. If you got a double album, you'd open it up. Sometimes, you know, Quadrophenia has a whole book in it. If you remember that black and white book. And in this one, you have the insert here, and even on the disc itself. I don't know what I'm about to show, but
But just
all right, but let's
that's
see.
all Jim's handwriting.
My
so
bad handwriting.
That's
I
great.
actually worked hard
It's
to
very
get it
cool
down.
though, and you've got the
Yeah.
whole Victorian era. What is he doing? Is he ringing a bell?
Ring a bell. Yeah.
All right, let's flip it over. And what's on this
So
side?
we originated steampunk, I think, even more so than what was it? Brazil? Was that considered the first steampunk?
But it's just, you know, like there's ritual to it, and I noticed you have, unless this might have legitimately aged, or was it sort of,
Yeah, it's legitimate.
okay, because
Yeah.
it's a little yellow, the
Yeah.
paper. But this is something that, you know, the kids today, they don't see anymore. And, you know, you would judge your album, like this one, you could say I didn't play it much, I hate to admit.
Yeah. Oh,
But, you know, but it's crisp, you know.
This is the copy that you save for posterity. You have your second copy,
Yes,
which
that's
is
right.
the.
Well, this is going on Sotheby's later after our show.
Exactly.
But,
But was that when you and Seth actually had to go up to Scranton and pick it up?
It was Seth and Mike went to Scranton. It was the day of a record release show.
Right.
So we, you know, booked the record release show, thinking we had plenty of time.
I want to stop you right there.
Yeah.
You guys had a record release show. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, again, that's like the thing. We always made it up, and then like we would always just kind of have a target,
Right.
hit the target,
Okay.
and then we made it. Like then we did what we wanted to do. Like we kind of realized early on, if we wait around, and probably for good reason, if we
Right.
wait around, nobody's going to care.
Right.
So if we just say like we're going to do a record release show, and we organized it, it was a nice way of like hitting targets. Yeah, putting records.
I
out,
think
all that
it's
stuff.
great because, like, I watched the path of a lot of folks. Like, you know, for me, I was in cover bands and then sort of fizzled out after law school. And now I'm doing this for fun. But you guys were so ambitious and successful in your ambition that I think most people who were sort of destined to not be full-time musicians, which neither of you became, and I don't think you aspired to. Or maybe, let me hear.
Oh, I would have loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think.
So then maybe that's the difference.
Yeah.
You know, because I was perfectly content to be in my part-time band. When I was in the
Right.
band with Todd, we had maybe 4 originals and the rest were covers, and it's not as big a commitment as you guys said, and maybe that's the difference.
Yeah.
You know.
But what we wanted to be was not so much go on tour, and it was all about making like great records.
Well, I
At
think
least-
it was, I mean, not to get too pretentious, but it's about the art,
Yeah.
right?
For
I
us it
mean-
was.
I mean,
Yeah,
the pop art,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, you
Yeah.
know, if there had been a way, like this band, the Beatles,
Right.
to have done some records, some tours, and then done nothing but recording, that would have been ideal.
Right, because
I used to
they
think
didn't
about-
like touring.
No, right. I
Yeah.
used to think about John Fogerty, you know, Creedence Clearwater had like this 3-year run of
Right.
amazing activity, and then John Fogerty disappeared for 20 years. That would have
Right.
been perfect.
Right.
So, in
But
a
they had
sense-
like 10
Yeah.
years of nothing as like the Gollywogs
Right,
or something
right.
like that, where they
Yeah.
played every
Yeah.
bar in Sausalito, wherever they
Yeah.
were from.
So like minus the 3 years of fantastic success, we have kind of achieved
Oh, yeah.
that. You know, we've gotten to have a normal life.
Yeah. Now, how many albums overall did you guys put out?
So we have 2 EPs.
And
we
so
have.
this is an EP. This is not
Yeah,
a.
that's
it's like-
7 songs.
Right.
Yeah.
So EPs are what? They're like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, our thought at the time, and this probably was that we didn't want to give away all of our really good songs. That because this was self-released. I remember we had those kind of discussions,
Right.
like because this was going to get us signed. You know.
So, then that's interesting. So, and look, the quality of the songs, which again, like I'm still on a high from listening to those 2 songs. I think they're. First one is just great. The second one's beautiful, great.
Thank you.
But I mean it. They're just special, and you can feel the energy in the room. They're really cool. But so you guys had that ambition, and not that you would be crestfallen if it didn't happen, but at least it was that sort of hope that was floating around.
Yeah,
Or were you a little crestfallen?
Well, I think we were so certain that when it didn't happen like immediately, and we've had discussions about this,
Yeah.
that certain tensions came in the band, and probably about like a year after that, I had kind of left the band for a while.
Oh, really?
And that was the typical kind of thing, talk about like real lives kind of thing, was that Jim, Mike, and Seth had the ability to kind of quit their jobs and try to like really
They
make
still
it.
had shitty jobs. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was working for my family. I was in like a.
You got married pretty young, right?
That wasn't a matter of that. I
It
was.
family business.
It was.
yeah.
I was working for a family business.
Oh, okay.
So,
So band tension. I mean,
which then went out of business a year later. So I should have just gone with you guys.
But it's funny, at any level there's band tension. I remember fighting in all the bands I was with where you'd have the asshole lead guitarist who wanted more volume. We'd fight over things as simple as volume. You'd have fights over whose song would get played, things like that. But what did you guys fight about?
Getting the arrangements right
Yeah.
to this day is still a giant, and it's a necessary point of arguments that we have.
Yes.
Right.
So
You're not fighting saying
So
you're a
my-
jerk, you're a jerk. You're trying to get to the same place.
trying to get to that same place.
Right. Like,
So like one of the roles that I have, and it's kind of changed over the years,
Right.
is that I did, and that tries to a natural thing. So Jim was writing all the songs, like especially early on, and I was doing a lot of the arrangements. So
To this day, you still do a ton of arrangements.
Yeah, but
so let's talk about arrangement, because what do you mean by that?
I mean, a lot of it was working with the rhythm section.
Okay.
So a lot was working with Seth and Mike Frank as bass. And a lot of times it was just kind of translating what Jim had in mind when he wrote the songs
Right.
into something that like Seth could do and Mike could do. And plus I had my own like thoughts.
Right.
So
And then, so let's talk, who are the other, so you got Mike Frank.
right.
He plays,
Now he's on guitar.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mike-
no,
you just
he's on
confused
bass.
me.
He's on
He's
guitar now.
and bass, yeah.
Yeah, you
Mike's been
confused
like
me.
the swing man through the
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
He's the utility player.
Yeah, so the original
Yeah.
lineup of Nixon's Head was me, Andy, Seth, Mike Fingeroff.
Yeah, I remember that
So
name.
the 4 of us go back to high school days. A guy named Steve Sagan, who was in like the rival high school band. We didn't even like Steve until after high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve joined us as the original bass player. And then we had this weird period, Andy and Mike became friends at GW. And on any given gig, either Mike Fingeroff or Steve Sagan couldn't make it for some reason. So Mike was like John Havlicek. He was the 6th man. He could
Yeah.
like fill in. And one gig he'd play guitar, one gig he'd play bass. And then eventually
Right.
Sagan moved away and Mike became a full-time
Right.
bassist for years. And to this day, he'll still shift back and forth
Yeah, he does.
depending on which guy
And-
who's not the long-lost Mike Fingeroff
So here-
isn't with us.
Here's another cool thing. So the fact that you could say to this day, 35, 36 years isn't, people, I was listening to Volume on the way over here, that Sirius
XM,
station.
yeah.
Right, and they were talking about the Stones are still around, The Who is sort of still around. They talk about Nixon's Head being still around,
Oh yeah, Mark Goodman remembers us from
does.
his Philly Fro days.
I actually called the show about 2 months ago because they wanted, and I just said YYZ or Frankenstein, and that's it. And I just wanted, and they didn't understand the concept. And then Mark Goodman got it, and then they said that's kind of silly. But you were reaching for your guitar before I sensed it.
I was just thinking about when you were talking about the arrangement thing.
Yeah.
So this is a long time beef. I think you know about this.
You
We're
guys
kinda
fought a
joking
little
about it.
bit. I watched
So we were
it.
joking a little bit about Let It Go.
Yeah.
So-
it was more than joking.
I can't-
There was
I
a little
can't-
Well,
tension
because
in the room.
that's one of the songs where I had so much arrangement ideas that I get a co-writing credit on it.
Yeah, right. Did you?
Yeah. Thanks, buddy.
But when I wrote it, the idea is funny. I knew that I was from the start ripping off some Beatles song. I couldn't really
Wait.
place it.
It's Wait.
No.
What you're doing.
Is it, oh yeah, what you're doing. Or is it
Wait. Yeah, I said what you do. Oh, tell me what you see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but anyhow, when I wrote the song, the idea was I really didn't like REM. And I didn't like them. I didn't mind their music, but at the time it was during that period when Michael Stipe obscured all his lyrics, and I just felt like he was hiding.
Okay.
And it bugged me that he always kind of hid and mumbled his way through. So the idea was to write this song about, kind of just letting go of.
So you were
all the
actually
stuff
thinking
that-
about Michael Stipe.
I was, yeah.
See, I'm listening to this song and I'm drawing all these really broad generalizations
Yeah.
about life and not being uptight. Meanwhile, I'm listening to a song about Michael Stipe.
So the original idea that when I wrote it, and in part to obscure the kind of unintentional Beatles lift, was to do it more like a Dylan song. Remember, I wanted to kind of be just racing forward, like if you don't know where you are, right.
All right, I'm going to cut you off again.
On it. Yeah,
He's right and you're wrong.
exactly. Yeah.
Because as I was listening to you guys, I only play rhythm. I can't play lead, and I haven't tried. And I like that sort of slow. Show us with it. That's the sort of the better or the newer, whatever way to do it. There was something about the way you did the rhythm, and it was sort of intentionally delayed. And there's a pause in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
upstroke.
so Andy did a cool thing then. He took, with the old 4-track we had, you got, I think
takes
you
its
had
time.
me play the guitar kind of in the rhythm that you thought it should be in.
Right.
And then he did a recording of the vocals with this like 4-part harmony or something.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you made the demo with all the ahs.
I think I might have done it, but I made sure that I recorded it when you guys were out for dinner.
Right. It was, because I wouldn't have gone with
No,
that.
no.
I don't
So
typically
it's like
harmonies.
You're actually, of all things,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about our SNL skit with Cowbell,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because as that's the song I asked you guys to do. I'm looking at the back of the album and I know all your songs,
Yep.
and I asked you to do that. But to me, what really makes that song is that sort of that take your time, sort of pause a little. That's to me that and the harmony, not the harmony, but the melody, But those two things, for me anyway, are what make the song. It's that delay. It makes, because it's only a 3, 4, 5 chord song.
Right.
I mean, you're not doing anything complicated on there. But to me, what separates it is the way you were doing that rhythm. It's just this sort of delay, and it's special.
Yeah, so that was Andy's stuff. He got Seth to do that kind of Ticket to Ride sort of beat that's on the record.
Right.
I think you even kind of dictated part of Mike's bass part with
pretty.
doing the
Yeah, I think in that
stuff.
song I was, but
Yeah.
but it's evolved over time.
Right.
And so it's part of it is because it's not as important as it was.
Right.
In terms of, because it's like part of what always tempered Nixon's head is the friendship aspect of it.
Right.
And so we're never going to fight to like, it's all about, either when we fight, it's kind of either just competitive bullshit, just, as friends do.
Yeah, you guys were like
jawing
two
each
brothers.
other,
Yeah.
which I think spurs us both on in
Oh,
a
it's good
positive way. So.
because you're both striving to make the music as good as you can make it. I mean, so again, it's like we said before. It's you're both striving toward the same ends. It's just different potential ways to get there.
Yeah.
But just with Mike Frank and Seth Bayer, who've been playing with us. Seth has been playing with us, since the beginning.
Right.
That's also like the special aspect of it is because we're doing it with people who we've been doing it with for so long and just through all of stages of life.
Right.
From when our kids were young, when we were single, when we got married, to kids.
No,
to
it's special, and you have a
graduation.
following. I mean, so the last 2 times I've seen you, what was the bar in Fishtown you guys played in? About 5 years ago,
Was
3,
that-
4, 5 years
oh,
ago.
Yeah, that was Kung Fu Necktie.
Kung Fu
right?
Necktie.
Which is a great venue.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen you in, I don't know, 20 years, something like that. Ran into Elliot there. But you guys filled the bar. I mean, and another observation I had, I like smaller bands, like when you get like the trios that sounds big. The two of you, with you not playing an instrument other than your voice, you filled this room. And I think it's because you sing with his guitar playing. You're not singing opposite it. You're not singing a melody around it. You're actually singing with the guitar. But you guys, by being in sync like that, you guys were filling this room with just guitar and vocal, like in a way that is almost disproportionate to what one vocal and one guitar should do.
Oh, well, thank you.
It was you're welcome. It was very cool.
Suggesting that we just ditch the others.
Yeah. It is it. Well, you know, I
The
heard
Zone Mach 2.
that's right. Well, I heard a rumor that Andy has a solo project.
Oh,
going.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to wait till after this, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, band fighting's
Thoughts
funny
inside
because
my
we've
head.
been doing it for so long, you know, as great friends. It's like a game of rock, paper, scissors now. We can just, sometimes whoever makes that opening move, you know what the next 3 moves in the fight are going to be, and we can just kind of say like, all right, let's wrap this up and get back to
are
the song,
all the fights about just what the product will sound like, or are there ever fights like, I don't want to play there again? You know, I'm tired of that venue. Anything like
When
that?
we were younger, we had some fights like that.
Yeah, I mean, we were, you know, I think now it's kind of like, I think, you know, we have discussions of how much we want to play live.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so before the Collingswood gig, it had been a couple years since we had played it, as Nixon said, as opposed to Mag 7, which is our Clash offshoot band.
Right.
So, which
So
we're playing.
you guys together in that band?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's pretty much
all the
everyone
same
in Nixon's head.
people, yeah. So
So it's the same people?
yeah, same
Yeah.
people. So I mean, when we
What's the
started
name again?
band, the Magnificent Seven.
You did a Michael Stipe on that one. You
Yeah,
kinda,
Mag 7.
you didn't say the name. What's the name?
Well, is it called the Mag 7?
Full name's Magnificent.
I get it as
Seven,
Magnificent
yeah,
Seven.
spelled out. But yeah, when we email each other, text each other, it's Mag and the number.
And then what is Mag 7?
It's a Clash tribute band.
Yeah.
Really?
Which is something that we started talking about probably in the late 80s. And actually Ken Sills, another person that we went to
Right.
college
he was
with,
gonna be in that.
was going to be the original bassist for it. And it's something that we just kind of revived. And essentially what we did is like, we'll do like 15 Clash songs.
Yeah, do you throw any originals in there? Or is it?
No,
It's
no,
very
no, no.
It's all
pure.
Clash when we do that.
Yeah,
So the
and
first
like we
time-
took it really seriously.
Did you really?
Yeah, the
Oh,
first time
yeah.
we did it a couple years ago, we kind of like did some, it was almost like method acting. I remember like for me, I put together like a mix of 50 songs I envisioned they were listening to in 1976. And that's all I listened to for about 3 months. And one day Seth and I went to South Street in Philadelphia, and Seth called me up someday. He's like, Jim, let's go to South Street like when we were 16 and go, you know, thrift shops. And it was just the silliest
Yeah.
thing. But it was really
So
fun.
you were like pulling a Brando, you were like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
character?
Oh yeah, I mean we would try to find like isolated tracks, and we have lots of discussions about how the Clash played the songs. And we did it once at I can't think of blanking on the name of the
Somewhere in
club.
South Philly?
Boot and Saddle, which is a great club
Right.
in South Philly. And you know, we got like sold out essentially.
Did you really?
And we did it with a band called the Lower Wolves, which is an REM cover
R.E.M.
band.
Cover band, yeah. And they were
And-
actually good. I like them
yeah.
better than R.E.M.
Now, what cracks me up is that being someone who was never in well, Bloody Smegma was an
Yeah.
original
Yeah.
band, but they don't really count. But to be in a purely original band, to then pivot and be in a cover band, I don't know, like what inspired you guys to do that? Because to me, like people who want to do their own stuff
Yeah.
find covers antithetical to what they are. Are you just doing it for fun?
They gave us so much hope and inspiration when
The
we were
band.
trying to
Yeah.
figure out
Yeah.
the band, The Clash, right? Because, you know, there was stuff that we grew up on, you know, being Beatles fans. I remember,
Right.
you know, at 16, 17, when I could barely play, going through a
Right.
Beatles book, and eventually you're always going to get to like a C ninth or an augmented chord.
Right.
And, you know, I'm 16, I can barely do
A bar
straight
chord.
bar chord,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So then The Clash come along, and it's like every song was just straight, you know,
Yeah, they're
bar
very
chords.
playable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Although-
major, very few minor chords. And
yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So
but they were
that-
nicely produced, though. Somehow, just like the Sex Pistols, they
Yeah.
have a clean and crisp sound,
Yeah.
even if you're not getting amazing musicianship out
Yeah,
of it.
I mean, and we rip off from the Clash so often. So it's
In
really
your
not-
original stuff, you
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
they are
Okay.
like a bedrock, like
Right. Right.
of us, and we've ripped them off numerous times.
Yeah,
Right.
like if there's like the dictionary of Nixon's head, and you went into the derivation of our songs, you know,
Right.
in like the parentheses, you see like old Clash or something,
Right,
something
right.
you know, from the old Clash, right? Yeah, we get a lot out of them.
Even when we were in high school, one of the demo tapes that we did covers. We did 2 Clash covers.
Oh, really?
And so we're senior in high school, and this is like an event that was great, a lot of fun for us. So we
And
went
it's the
to-
perfect time, because that's when the Clash really broke onto the scene, late
Yeah.
70s,
Yeah.
early 80s.
So we, Jim and I and Duncan, an early member, we took the demo, went to like, I don't know, 5 or 6 like record companies back when they were in New York.
Yeah, we like walked around New York City with a box of of cassette tapes.
Did you
with their
really?
demos,
Oh, yeah.
And just cold called. Went to like, go to these mammoth buildings,
Right.
go up on the elevator, and walk into the lobby of.
Like, how stupid were we?
Yeah.
No, but you're
You
not,
know?
because that's how it worked back then.
Yeah.
Because it could have just as easily been you sitting, on a network right now talking about how you became famous.
Right.
We walked around with cassettes and we met the right person at the right time and they signed. Like, it
But
could
we
have
went down
been
to
that.
Stiff Records, and like we gave them the cassette, and didn't they like play it while we were in the hall?
Yeah,
and they were
we were in the hallway like with our ears up against the door.
yeah. And this is Stiff Records, which was the
Were they-
famous punk label that
Okay.
Elvis Costello and
Yeah.
Nick Lowe were
Right.
involved with. So
Well, you guys are a little Nick Lowe-ish, your band, I think.
that's also probably by
Another hero.
yeah,
Yeah.
by like we wanted him to produce us, and that was like part
And
of.
I'm laughing, but I shouldn't because your stuff's good. I'm laughing because as we sit here now,
Yeah. It sounds foolish now,
Yeah.
but we
Right.
wanted either him or Roger Bakarian.
Who was his engineer? Yeah.
Right. yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think I have 2 Nick Lowe albums. I think
Yeah.
he's wonderful. Immaculate Pop is what we used to
Yeah.
call him.
Yeah, we were just ridiculously sure of ourselves.
That's good though.
We're-
It's wonderful.
we're having no
Looking back
outwardly
on it,
self-confidence.
Yeah, looking
Yeah.
back on it, it's kind of the right way to be because
Yeah.
what have you got to lose?
Right.
Yeah.
And look at you've had full lives and music. And this is fun. The theme of the show is guitar players you might not have heard of.
Right.
And you guys have filled your lives with
Yeah.
music, families and you have day jobs, and you still have music as prominent.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like about Nixon's Head is that it's an extended family. We went down, we saw you in Collingswood. So it's one scene to see you in Fishtown because it's going to be a lot of your friends and extended family. And by family, I don't mean blood relatives, but the
Right.
Nixon's Head family. But then there'll be a lot of people just having fun in Philly that time. But then we go to see you in Collingswood, and it's your family. It's like a family reunion.
yeah, that was a great place to play actually.
It was very cool. The sound was great. The crowd was very supportive, which you'd expect.
Yeah.
But it was in a record store, like a record/guitar shop.
Yeah.
So I just sat there salivating over every guitar. They had some cool guitars in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's look at your guitar. I want you to
Sure.
show us your guitar. So tell us what it is, when you got it.
So it's a Gretsch, and I was saying to you earlier, Dave, I'm like the worst gearhead in the world, but I
Right.
think it's called a Duosonic.
Okay.
And I got it about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
I always liked the band X. And
Wait, it
Billy-
tells us what it
yeah.
is. What does it say there?
Yeah. Electromatic.
See, you are not a gear guy, apparently.
I'm illiterate as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I'm a big fan of X and Billy Zoom, who is their guitarist.
I've heard of neither.
Yeah. So X was this amazing. I'm typically not a fan of like LA punk from the early '80s, the hardcore
Right.
stuff, but X was this
Right.
kind of punk rock, rockabilly type
Yeah.
of band.
Right.
And so Andy and I saw them early on in this tiny little place, and it was just a mind-blowing show. They're playing on a stage like this size,
Right.
8 inches above everybody else. And Billy Zoom was this older guy who had like this bleach blonde pompadour, and he'd play the whole time with a big shit-eating
Just
grin
like
on his
stands
face.
there and
He just
just
stands there with his legs far apart, and he's just right?
like the most amazing
For
Chuck Berry
yeah,
inspired.
Chuck Berry kind of guitar for like an hour,
So he was a
hour-long
good guitar
set.
player,
Oh,
too.
Really good
awesome!
guitar
Like one
player.
of the best.
So he had like a silver one of these.
Right.
So a couple years, whenever it was 5-6 years ago, one day I was in a music store and I saw this one. I was like,
It's
that's
beautiful.
the closest I'm going to get to his, and I tried it. And
Do you use the whammy bar at all?
I don't. It's
Yeah.
funny. I've never been able to coordinate
Right.
using a whammy bar and making any use of it.
Which is funny because your other main guitar was a Strat,
Yeah.
which also had the bar.
And it's funny because I even have opinions on whammy bars. Like I don't like guitars that have the little thin whammy bars.
Right, right.
Like I like that.
So you have
this is a
opinions
big
on something
meaty
you don't
one.
use.
Yeah, I have an opinion on something I don't.
Jim has
even
lots
use.
of opinions
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I like it. It looks
And then you
good.
got, so those are really narrow for humbuckers. They're almost as narrow as single coil. And then Jim's going to say, what is Dave talking about?
Now I kind of know what you're talking about there.
Yeah. But I'm looking, look how usually a humbucker
yeah.
is it's usually as wide as the whole base there.
Right.
And that's almost as narrow as a single coil.
Just, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm looking at the apparatus, even like, see, you got the bridge,
Uh-huh.
so it goes under that. It's like very,
It's a bitch to restring.
I bet. I
Is that a
bet.
Bigsby bar? It's a Bigsby style bar.
I think a Bigsby style, right? I don't think
Yeah.
it's an
It doesn't
actual.
Does it say what it is?
Oh, it actually is. It is a Bigsby.
How did you
Okay,
know what
there
Bixby is?
You know, I know enough about guitars, I guess.
Yeah.
But we played that before, and I put it through this amp. Way back there, we've got that gorgeous Fender little tube amp you have, and it sounds beautiful. Like it's got a really crisp sound, and it's warm tone.
Yeah, so this, and the other guitar I use most commonly these days is a guitar I got a couple years ago in England. It's a Gordon Smith guitar.
I haven't heard of that.
I know, I had never heard of it. So a couple years ago, I work for a company that's based in England.
Okay.
And so I go over there a lot. So a couple years ago, I was feeling like I really like this company. We got bought by this English company, and I like this country.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a bit of an Anglophile anyhow musically, and I saved money, and I said, I want to buy some odd English guitar that
That's a
some
great
English
idea.
kids sweat on years ago, right? So
Right,
I'm in
right.
this shop, and I see on the wall, it's this guitar. It looks like a Les Paul Jr.
Okay.
And it's hanging on the wall. It says like Manchester. It's where the home office is, Manchester area. Manchester's Les Paul or something like that. So I say to the
Oh,
clerk,
in other words, that's their version of a
it's like
Les
their
Paul.
version of the Les Paul. So I say to the clerk, what is this guitar?
What do you say? It's Gordon Smith?
Gordon Smith.
Okay.
And he tells me about it. He said, yeah, it's a Manchester area guitar maker. They do everything to order. So people
Right.
just go on and, order things custom. So I'm playing it, you know how as soon as you pick up a guitar,
You know,
sometimes
you-
you're like,
you know where you
this
don't.
is perfect, right?
Yeah.
It just feels great.
Yeah.
And I'm like playing it, and I keep asking the guy, like, what, tell me about this guitar. I've never heard of it. And he said, oh, in the 70s, the punks used to like this because it was cheap but sturdy. And as soon
Right.
as he said that, it was like Pete Shelley from the Buzzcocks. When we were kids, we'd look at pictures of the Buzzcocks, and
Right.
Pete Shelley was always playing this weird, kind of slightly pointy guitar. We didn't know what it was. And it turns out it was that make. So it was, as soon as he said that, it was like, sold.
That's
Yeah.
funny. I bought a guitar off of, not eBay, what's the other? Amazon, a used guitar on Amazon from somebody. I don't know how I got it. But it was an old Tisco. Do you know Tisco?
Yeah.
They're
I
a
looked at
Japanese
some of those,
company
yes.
that they tried to emulate the surf
Yeah. Right.
movement. And the ad said, so solid you can use the guitar to hammer in a fence post in winter.
Oh God.
And I thought,
That's great.
how do I not get it? And it was like a 66
Yeah.
for $100 or $120. It wasn't great, but it was that solid, and it functioned, And then I want to pull this. I'm
Sure.
afraid to touch
No,
it.
you go ahead.
This is stunning. I've always wanted.
Also
a
an
Rickenbacker.
Anglophile.
Yeah, look at this. This guitar is special. Where's it?
Right, so this is a 1965, the bass is Rickenbacker 330,
Right.
but what makes it special is that there were a handful that were sent over to England.
Right.
And they all have the...
Yeah, it's got the F-hole.
The F-hole.
Yeah.
And they were called Rose Morris.
Oh, what a nice neck.
And so it had a different model number. So in England, this would be a Rose Morris 1997. So instead of a Rickenbacker 330. So
It's beautiful, but you never see them blonde.
no.
And this is the same deal. You've got these humbuckers, but they're very narrow. So this has really, the bridge is nice, and look how old that is.
Yeah.
But it's in really nice shape. The other thing I noticed when you brought it in is you've got, I guess it's a rosewood fretboard, but you don't see them this shiny. So I had asked you if you shine it up, and you said no. But usually rosewood is
so
more of a matte,
right,
like
yeah.
a flat finish. But this has this nice sheen.
And it's got a lot of, Jim played it, Mike Fingeroff played it a lot. And so it's not like we took extra special care of it or anything like that.
No,
but-
and the pickguard, you got this weird raised thing here,
right.
which is really cool. It's just a stunning guitar, and it's balanced nicely, but it's a really skinny neck too.
Yeah, I bought it kind of as a graduation present for myself when I graduated college.
Right.
But a lot of it was so that the band could have it. And so we
that's a
could
great
we could
idea.
utilize it for the band.
And then one of the first things I look at that pisses me off about old guitars is you don't have the sealed machine heads. So you probably always have issues going out of tune. But my old Fender was like that too. Like beautiful guitars have that because they didn't start making these until like the late 80s or something. But I always look for that. But if you want an authentic guitar, you're going to get the non-sealed, you don't have a choice. But this is stunning. But I've never seen an old Rick that's blonde like that. That's really cool.
I mean, it makes it very special, but
Yeah.
as we were talking about earlier, not as valuable as you would think.
I would have thought more because it's different.
Yeah,
You
it
know.
could be, and maybe 10 years from now it'll be a.
Oh yeah, but you'll never get rid of it.
I don't think
It'll
so.
go in your will
No,
probably.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, what kind of guitars did you start with?
Well, so the first one was, Andy knows it, called Old Reliable.
Old Reliable.
So
Okay.
when I was in 3rd grade, I first wanted to play guitar.
Right.
So I got this plywood acoustic guitar.
Plywood, literally.
It was literally plywood. It was terrible. You know, the action was about, that high off.
Yeah.
And I played for like a year or two and then put it aside, and then, when I'm like 15, pick it up again.
Right.
And then I got like a cheap, whatever, like a Sears guitar, circa 1978 or something.
Right. So you bought it new at Sears.
Yeah, I bought a new one.
Okay.
And yeah, so it wasn't, one of those silver tones. Which
Now you
I
talking
actually
electric
have
or
now.
acoustic at this
An
point?
electric. So that was my
Okay.
first electric.
Right.
But then, so at that time, 78 is when the band movie The Last Waltz came out.
Right.
And I think I saw The Last Waltz, 6 times in the first
Okay.
couple weeks it was out. And Robbie Robertson was playing, I think it was like a gold top. I think he painted it gold Strat.
Okay.
So of course, that's what I wanted. I wanted a
Right.
gold Strat, and I wanted to wear a velvet jacket and a
With a
scarf,
scarf.
and be really cool. And the best I could do was I found this blonde Strat, like a
You
70,
you got a real Strat
a
though.
real Strat, like a 77.
So that's
78
pre-CBS if it's a.
yeah. So it's nice. So that's what I
Right.
played for years with Nixon's Head.
I mean, like forever.
yeah,
So
forever.
did you have a maple or a rosewood for your fretboard?
Maple for the neck.
That's what I
yeah,
like on the Strat.
yeah.
Much better. It's
Yes,
faster.
Yeah.
And you bought that at Zapp's, right?
At Zapp's, yeah.
Where's Zapp's?
an old
Zapp's
place
was old legendary Philadelphia music store.
Okay.
That was,
in an
that
area called
closed.
Olney, a neighborhood called Olney.
Right.
Yeah, so it was just this big old music store. They had tons of stuff. I remember too, the day I bought it, I'm going to make up the price, let's say $180.
Right.
So I had like $181 saved. I'm a kid, and we don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
ATM cards back then. So I'm there, and I see the Strat, and then I also saw right next to it this old 1950s Dan Electro with a little like lipstick pickup.
Oh my
And
God.
it was like the thing that like Jimmy Page would have played early on.
Yeah.
Like his Yardbirds
Dan Electro,
early
you see
career.
them all. They're
Yeah.
It sounded
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But I'm a kid, and I'm thinking, well, I saved all this money. I should buy the newer guitar.
No, you made the right choice
Yeah.
because the Dan Electro wouldn't have been versatile enough
You
for
know
you.
how much the Dan Electro was?
Oh no, I don't want to know.
$50.
Oh my God.
And if I had just been, I could have gone back and probably begged my mom to loan
Right.
me $50.
Yeah, that's-
And,
that-
I
we-
had 2 guitars. but
Episode
that-
1 of this show, I
wasn't
talked
ready for that.
I talked about my biggest guitar.
Oh, your mom
regret.
would not have let you have 2 guitars.
No, probably not. I
So there
might
you
have
go.
been able to work
Jimmy,
it.
do you really need 2 guitars?
I couldn't remember the name of my biggest guitar regret, but we put a little graphic on it. A
Yeah.
Fender Coronado. You know that model?
I do.
It was sort of like that. It had a floating bridge. It was sunburst. Oh, it was stunning. I got it for 50, sold it for 100 or 80 or something. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's a guitar I wish I still had it. But I wasn't capable of keeping it in tune. I mean, a floating bridge is really hard.
Yeah.
It kept moving all over the place. But it was literally mint. It was like
Yeah.
a 60 whatever.
Yeah.
And I bought it in the 80s, so it was already old. And I felt guilty because I remember I told the story on the first show that when the guy went to buy it off me used, ultimately I felt guilty because I'd spent maybe $20, $30, $40 on it, so I didn't want to make much of a profit. But that's my biggest guitar regret. So I just got assigned, we talked before about how long the show will be. It's 45 minutes already.
Wow.
Right. And we're going to add in your songs. So
Oh, okay.
Cool. Yeah. Don't.
If you don't know where you are, you'll never know.
There's more time between.
No, there's not.
Yeah, there is.
Really? Sorry, you didn't take it away. I'll just play guitar.
If you don't know where you are, you'll never know. If you travel very far, there's still a way to go. and claim you for themselves. Don't mistake yourself for right. To me, you're someone else. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Oh, something arrests me now. I'm drawn too near. I can't live in pity or fear. Let it go. Don't you think that what you see does not require light? That's all right when you're alone, but try and trust your sight. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Do you expect the hand of God to lift you from this world? Paradise. Go out and find a girl. Let it go. 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 Let it go.
Yeah, you guys have been fabulous. I'm thrilled we got you on.
Can we tell our worst gig story?
Oh yeah, tell you. Well, here, look. This is on the list. Hold on. This is the list that our friend Todd sent us. He wants worst gig ever. So that comes right from Todd. All right.
So we were kind of at like our peak, which is probably like 87, 88 was when we were getting, you know, a lot of gigs. We were playing a lot of
tours and
yeah.
stuff.
Right.
So
Wait, tours?
yeah. So we we actually did a real tour opening for the Dead Milkmen. So,
Oh, yeah.
So the Dead Milkmen, we played with them a lot when we were growing up, and so it was actually an international tour because we also played Toronto. So it was our world tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would do like a few nights here and there, either up in
Right.
Boston or playing different colleges and stuff like that. So our worst gig was we played this club in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah,
called
yeah.
The Dirt Club.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is like 87, 88, and Elizabeth is not a great city. So imagine it back then.
Right. What year is this again?
Probably 87, 88.
Okay. All right.
And we get there, it's crowded, but it's definitely like a rock club, like a hard rock club
In Elizabeth.
in Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't our scene.
Definitely
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So you're thinking like when you say rock, so you mean more like a heavy metalish,
Oh,
hard
yeah, like
rock,
leather.
classic
Yeah.
rock kind of
yeah,
right, which is not
exactly.
you guys.
No,
Right.
definitely not.
Right.
But the place is packed.
Right.
And we're like the third out of four bands, so we actually have a great slot.
Yeah.
Right.
But the last band, the woman lead singer had a prosthetic leg,
Okay.
And they knew, like, it was a New York Times, and so the fourth band had probably gone on at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
Right.
And so Larry, the promoter, said, you know, because this woman has like a fake leg, you have to be fourth instead of third.
Because she's in pain, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you became the headlining act.
we became the headlining. And so we go behind the stage, the place is packed, you know, everything's rocking.
This is going to be fine.
This is great. Oh yeah, there's like, don't worry, like, you know, this is a late draw, you know, because we were going to go until like 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So like the curtain opens, and there is like nobody. Oh, one person, Dan Newberger.
Yeah.
You know Dan
Yeah, I know
Newberger?
Dan.
Larry and Dan.
It's like, exactly. And, you know, so we play like 8 songs, and then like the sound man kind of through the monitor system, he could have just yelled because there's only 3 people in the club.
Right.
Kind of said, just one more song, guys.
Because he wants to go home.
Because he wants to go home.
Right.
And, you know, it became a line in one of actually a more recent song where we talk about
That's
that
really
gig.
funny.
But yeah, that was.
Now, did you guys at that point know that it had dwindled down to?
No, not until like the
So there was a
curtains opened.
reveal.
Yeah, it was
to
a
you.
reveal, yeah.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good gig.
Yeah,
That's a
that
really
was a
good
pr-
gig. But you know what? All these years later, it makes for a better story than a good gig.
Oh, it's funny.
You know, like that's what I think. Like when you have if you come out of it and you're like
Yeah.
alive, like I'm hearing this story and I'm thinking I'm about to hear you guys got beaten up or something.
Oh no.
You know, but you come out of that and you're okay, and now you've got something you could laugh about and tell the kids.
Oh, we have a lot of funny stories.
You got beaten up once?
Yeah.
Where?
We played that Arch Street Empire place.
Oh, that's right.
What happened?
Mike Frank, we were walking by a room. You know, we're kind of in the back of the club, and at one of the offices, there's a poster up with the band. And Mike said, "Check it out, Jim. I used to live in a house with this woman in Boston."
Oh, right.
Right. So he brings me into the office to check it out, and 2 of the women who were working the club, they like saw us in there, like, "You can't be in here. You can't be in here." You know, they're like shushing us out. You know.
Right.
I was like, "Okay, we're getting out." You know, and I think in the course of continuing being kind of pushed out of the room, I probably said something a little rude.
So
Next
we
thing
can
I
take out the
knew-
word probably, can't we? Yeah.
Next thing I know, this like coked up bouncer gets me and just like grabs me by the throat, like in, you know, Roadhouse or something, pushed me up against the wall and started taking shots at me.
Really?
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah.
I would think that would be bad. You know,
I should
how
watch
soon
my
afterwards were you able to laugh about it?
It took me a couple days on that one.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
that's-
really mad for a few days. I was just
Yeah.
felt like, you know, the world had done me wrong. Yeah.
Right. Now, as you look back, do you think maybe you deserved it a little bit?
I
or?
deserved a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming. This is beyond fantastic. This is our first show with full live songs on it, and I can't wait to see it when it gets in final, as they say.
Well, thank you for having us,
Yeah.
Dave.
Oh, absolutely, man. This is great.
Thank you,
Absolutely
Dave.
great.
Yep. And thanks to the staff here.
Yes, thank you all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you guys at Riverview Oh, there we go. Riverview Studios, as always, fantastic. All the folks who work here, the people behind the cameras, behind the board, the owner, the producer, all wonderful. RiverviewStudios.com. If you ever need to film anything, you're insane if you don't check this place out. It's that good. I want you to stay tuned to GuitarTales.com and our page on Facebook. We will announce future shows. We have a lot of people we're working on right now. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Dave Cohen signing off.